Hey guys, welcome back to another Flutter tutorial. Today we will learn one of the most important user interface component that is called list view in Flutter. We'll learn how to show list of items vertically and horizontally in a mobile application. Flutter makes it very easy to create user interface for list of items. So let's see the demo first. So in the user interface in the home screen, today we will create 4 tabs: vertical, horizontal, grid and mix. In the vertical tab there will be 3 items in a list view. It will be showing in vertically, and then in the horizontal list view we will see how to create list view horizontally so that you can traverse horizontally. And in the demo we just create and use color, but you can use anything, any widget like text, image, whatever instead of these colors. And then we learn how to create grid. Grid means a view where there is rows and columns. And finally we will learn how to create mix of list of items. So in the 4th tab we will see this as well. So let's start in the code. I have created a project named list demo, and here I remove all the template code, and now let's write some code. Now let's create a stateless widget. And now I will create a view with 4 tabs. Now I will create a body for each of the tabs. So the initial skeleton is done. Let's run this program. So our skeleton is working perfectly. So vertical, horizontal, grid and mix. We have created 4 tabs and 4 view. So now let's move forward. So let's get the vertical list view. So I am creating another stateless widget, and in this case I give the name list vertical. And here instead of the container we are going to use list view widget. So this is basically a built-in widget from Flutter. So in the list view widget there is a children property. You have to propagate other widget on that children property, then you are done. So here suppose for the first item I will use a list style, another widget from Flutter. So it will be list style, and then if you want to know which properties are available for list style, just put your mouse and cursor there and click Ctrl J or in either Mac or Windows. Then you can see that what properties are available. For example, here is a widget leading. So that means if you want to show any icon in the item, you can use this leading property. Then there is a title, subtitle, trailing. After the title, if you want to show anything in the item, you can also use this. So these are the some property. You can check out the Flutter documentation when you have any confusion. So what we want to do, we want to use the leading and we want to use the icon here. So here for example the icon, I am going to use icons.map. This is the leading widget. And then in the title I want to use another widget, that will be the text widget. So here I will write text and map. And finally, if you want to know that when a list of item is clicked, you want to track that. How you can do that? It is very easy. Just use on tap. So there are basically 2 gesture detector, on tap and on long press. So here we are using just on tap. So we are creating an anonymous function here, and just we are printing when user will click, we want to print that map. Now if I save this thing, and then what I have to do, I have to update the tab viewer. So instead of here, you see there is a center for the vertical, we just use list vertical. We are initiating this vertical widget here. Now you see there is a map, and if I click this map, you see a material effect is creating automatically, which is also customizable if you want. And if I click, you see here it is showing Flutter map in my terminal, right? Now let's create a for loop for the demo to create many number of items. So how we can do that? So list title, I just use this thing, list style, and let's write a for loop here. So for int I equals 0, I less than suppose 50 plus plus I. And when you are going to use for loop here, don't use any curly braces, just put your code under the for loop. Now if I save, you see there are so many maps. In fact, in the map I can use a string concatenation, string interpolation, and here you see that there is a gray bar is happening because it is, if you point your mouse here, it is saying that spread element were not supported until version 2.2.2. So what you have to do, you have to just go to your pub spec, and here in the SDK you just have to type 2.2.2. so your Flutter application or SDK should be above 2.2.2 version. So just save here, click package.get, and then come back to the main.dart, and you see this is gone. So now you see there is an infinite 50 items in our list, in the vertical list. So okay, I just want to remove this for loop and use the list item, and I want to suppose I want to create another item, list style. Okay, what I can do, I just copy this list style here, list style, and then here I can also use different item. For example, here I want to use photo album, I give the name album, and I also want to add a subtitle. So for example, for subtitle I want to use like a new album, and if I save, you see here it is showing album, a new album as the subtitle. Even if you want, you can use icon in the subtitle or title, because those are basically widget. So this is how we can create vertical list in Flutter, which is very easy. Now I want to show you another thing, that is we are using the built-in list style widget, right? But sometimes what we have to do, for example, recently I am developing a to-dos app where I have to customize the item. So in that case you have to use completely from scratch. So you can do that easily using a container build. For example, here I am writing, in this case I am not using any built-in widget like list title, we are using a built-in container widget. So here in the container left, suppose I give a size, container I give a color is suppose colors.green, then height suppose 30, and if I save this, you see there is a in the list view, the first two item is the list style and the third item is the container. I can also put margin if I want, edge, insets, all suppose 10. If I save, you see now it looks a bit better, right? I make the height suppose 40, and suppose I want to make the shape rounded corner, I can also do that. Decoration, box decoration, and here radius, border radius, there is a border radius property circular, just give some value. It is showing an error, I think I have did some mistake. When you develop any application, you sometimes face some kind of error. Now let's see that here I am showing a error when I give a border radius. So what the error saying that the exception caught by widget library, the following assertion was thrown, cannot provide both a color and decoration. So here instead of putting color here, when you are going to use a decoration, just move your color property on there, and now you see it's working perfectly. So if you when you develop application, if you see any error, don't worry, just read the information from the error and try to figure it out why it's happening. Also we can add any child if we want. For example, here I want to add a text, so I want to put in center child text, and the text will be a container, and there should be style should be text style, and color should be colors white. Now you see we created a custom tile in the list view, so it is very easy. And suppose if you want to also track that when user click this container, how you can do that? Very easy, just use a gesture detector. So in the container, click alter enter with a new widget gesture detector, and here on tab use a function, anonymous function, here print container clicked. Now save, and if I click this container, you see in the terminal it is showing container clicked. So this is how we can create vertical list view, and we can customize our item. Now let's create the horizontal list view. So I am creating a stateless widget. This will be horizontal list, and here in the above, by removing this center horizontal widget, I am initiating the horizontal list widget in here. Let's build this horizontal list. Now if I click this horizontal tab, there is nothing, so we will be building. So in the container, let's define a child, and the child should be list view, and there should be a children property where we want to put another container, and the color of the container should be color.green, and then height should be 200, then width should be 200. If I save this, you see a green list item is created using a container, and the list view is working. So let's copy this code and put it 3 times here, and instead of color.green, second item color would be color.red, and the third item would be color.blue. If I save this, now you see a list of 3 color is created here. And now I want to make it horizontal, which is very easy. In the list view, there is a property called scroll direction, and there is another object axis. By default, it will be it normally happens is axis.vertical, but we just want to make it horizontal. So axis.horizontal. If I save, now you see it's working in horizontally. Now give in the container a margin edge insets, and I give the vertical is 200.0. Now it's become the center. You see now this horizontal list is working. So let's move on to the grid tab and create a grid view. So we are going to create another stateless widget, and in this case I will be given the name grid demo or just grid, and I initiate this widget in the, instead of this center grid section, I will initiate the grid widget. Now let's build this grid. So in the container, I will be removing this thing, and I will be using a built-in grid view widget. So grid view dot, there is another built-in function grid view dot count, and grid view dot count, here there is a mandatory parameter that is called cross axis count. So cross axis count means the column. So here I want to put 2, that means I want 2 column in this grid view. and then there is a direction property that is called scroll direction. I will be using axis.vertical, and then there is another property that is the children property. So I have to use the children to populate the grid. So you can add manual container here. For example, you can use, suppose let's create a container. Color is colors dot green, height suppose 100, width 100. Save this thing. You see, one item. Now if I copy this thing, this container, and create another container and change the color to red, you see now the first item is the first row and the second item is the second column in the first row, because we are giving cross access count to 2, that means 2 column. So suppose if I give another, copy paste another, in this case orange, and you see it's showing in the first column in the second row. So this is how this grid is creating. And now if I want, I can also give some margin property so that it looks better. For example, margin edge insets all, suppose 10. Now you see there is a margin. Just copy this thing. So there is a margin showing. So sometimes, for example, Instagram app, there is so many pictures in their screen, right? So using grid view or this technique, you can create this kind of user interface. Instead of container, you can use image, icon, or whatever. Now let's generate a long list of grids. So there is a built-in method, we will be using that. So let's remove this widget, this thing, and use list.generate. This is a built-in method. So here I am putting 100 as that I want 100 of items in this grid, and here you see there is a generator another parameter, right? So if I just put my cursor in generate and type Ctrl J, you see this generator basically a widget. It should generate a widget. So this generator basically we can use a anonymous function and return something. So in the generate, there is a index. So here we are putting that this list.generate will generate 100 of items, and to access each of the number, we can use the index in the parameter of this anonymous function, and in the body let's create the widget thing. So here I will put a return and center widget again, and then child. In the child section I will type container, and then I give height suppose 150, width suppose 150 again, and then suppose color is colors dot gray, and I give 200, and then another child in this container, and that child will be text. So text and item, then $index. That's it. Let's save this thing. And here in the return statement there should be a semicolon. So if I save this thing, you see now it is showing a vertical grid. So far we have completed 3 types of list. The vertical tab, you see the vertical with some customized list, horizontal, and finally we have shown the grid. And now we will create the mixed list of item, that how we can create mixed list in our view. So for this reason, let's create I just put a comma to show the code nicely. Okay, so let's create another mixed type list, right? So let's create a abstract class list item. Basically we are using a data model. So here the list item is a data model, and let's use this list item to create a heading item. So class heading item, and extends this list item, and here final string there will be a heading, and heading item it will be this dot heading. So when the constructor is created, we will pass this heading and assign to the heading parameter. Let's create another message item, list item, and here we are giving final string sender and final string message, and then message, or it should sounds better, body. And then we are giving a constructor, and this we are passing this dot sender, this dot body to the parameter. So we are basically creating a data model. So first we are creating a abstract class list item, which is extending heading which is extended by heading item class and message item class. So basically you may ask me why I have created this abstract class. It basically helps to the polymorphism in object oriented programming. So using the list item pointer, we can access heading item and message item easily. That's why we have created this data model in this way. So let's create a widget. So we want to create a function, and this function will return a list. And which list? This list item. So this function can return either this message item or this heading item. If we want, we can do that easily. But as these are two classes, that's why we have created a base class, that is this abstract, so that we can easily point out this heading item and message item. So in this function, get list items, this is the function name, and int length. So when we pass a length, we will generate a list of item, either this message item or this heading item, based on our condition. So let's write if the body of this function return list, and again this angle bucket list item, and then we will use a generate function. So in the generate function, the first parameter we are passing this length, and in the generator this will be an anonymous function. We are using the anonymous function notation, and here we are using I. We can access each of this value. It's kinds of a loop. It looks like a loop, but it's not a loop. And here in the body, let's return that I mod 6 equal to 0, then pass create an object of heading item and pass a message heading $I. Otherwise create a message item and pass sender $I and a body message body $I. Very simple. So basically what we have done, we have created an abstract class list item, which is extended by these two class, heading and message item. We are defining a function get list item, where we can pass a value, the length, the size, and this will return a list of item, and the data type will be this list item, so that we can access this heading item and message item easily. And in the body, we are using this generated function, and every time the generator function is mod by 0, then we will return a heading item, otherwise we will return the message item. This is just our data model. So let's create the mix class mix list. Let's create the stateless widget mix list, and then here let's define a final list and list items, this property, and let's define a constructor, and there will be key. We don't need basically this one, we just need a this dot items. Simple. And now let's build the body. So we are going to use, in this case we are going to use list view dot builder, this method, and in the item builder there will be an anonymous function, and which will take context and index. And let's define this function. And also before item builder, we want that how many item we want. So there is another property item count. In this case we want, suppose items dot length. So these items, when we initiate this mix list, then we will pass a number of items based off this list of items, and then in this body we are generating this widget. So in here we'll type that final item সমান equals items, then index, and then if item is heading item, then what you do, you will return list style, and the title will be text item dot heading, and the style will be theme dot of context, and the text theme dot headline. Simple. And now in the else block, else if item is message item, so here we'll return again a list style, and then we'll use the title to the item dot sender. There will be text item dot sender, and the subtitle will be text item dot body. Save this thing, and now initiate this mix list widget in here in our top tab. Remove this thing and mix list here, and just pass some value like 20. It is showing that the argument of int can be assigned to the parameter list of items. Oh, I have to generate basically this function. I have to call this function get list item, then it will work. So get list item, suppose I am giving 20. Now if I save this, there is a problem, heading %i is showing, so it will be heading $i. Okay, now this mix list is created. You see there is a heading 0 and there are some message, then heading 6 there are some message, heading 12 there are some message. So this is how we can generate mix list of item very easily. If you did not understand this part, this model creation part, it's not basically difficult. If you know Dart language very well, it is very easy to understand, and I think this will help you to understand how to create different kind of list and how to use different list in the mix list mode. If you have any question, just ask me in the comment section, and I hope to see you in another video. Goodbye.